Hi Steve, Steve Jones, the author of the book Water Fuel Cell Secrets Revealed. Steve, I think you're here today to let us into some of these secrets that are in your book. Tell us what you've been able to do.
Take a very basic concept of the water fuel cell, develop a number of formulas and theories, and make the process repeatable, opposed to having an idea or a concept that really had no basis and people were just unable to communicate with others just what they'd achieved other than by referring to bubbles.
Mm-hmm. The fuel cell, what is it?
Well, it's basically a number of stainless steel cylinders or tubes, one inside the other, water filled, and a process of extracting an energy from the water to run an internal combustion engine.
So, what's the history of the fuel cell?
Well, I think initially it was discovered by a gentleman known to me only as Joe, who came across this phenomena when trying to make some sort of water steam system to run his motor car. And over a period of time he refined the process and changed the shape of his cell until he came up with a format that seemed to work quite well.
So Joe was not able to bring it to any great degree, develop to a great degree?
I really don't know a lot about where Joe left it. I'm told, I've never spoke with Joe or met the guy, but I'm told that he developed interest in other fields and left the fuel cell. I've seen videos where he expressed that he didn't really know what the energy was or how it worked, but it did work, and that's what got me originally interested. It was a phenomena that not only Joe but others had repeated. It had results with people who had made engines run.
So what have you done that perhaps others haven't done in the past towards the development of the fuel cell?
What I tried to do from the beginning was to create formulas, methods of measuring and methods of communicating, so that instead of saying to other people, bubbles, it all works on bubbles, which had been the case. When I get involved with this, people were charging cells and primarily looking at the surface. It was all about what was on top of the water. I wasn't really happy with trying to work with bubbles, and it's pretty hard to say to somebody, look, my cell's working because of these bubbles. What I did was look a little closer at the electronic aspects of the cell. What was happening when I charged it? What happened after I charged it? Did the voltage that the cell had across it, did that diminish instantly? Did it take time? And what I found was there was a direct relationship between the decay of voltage across the cell and the state of charge. I was able to build a computer interface, write a program, charge the cell, and then monitor the state of charge on the cell over what turned out to be many, many months, and then established that there was not only a relationship between the state of charge of the cell and the voltage that was across it, but it was a relationship that met the requirements of a formula. I was able to create a formula that would say, well, okay, do these measurements at these time intervals, and you can tell exactly how much charge is in the cell or isn't in the cell. You can also tell whether the cell is leaking, whether we've got problems where it's not holding a charge. And none of these things were available previously.
So what are the elements that are needed to have a working fuel cell?
Well, three criteria. The first is the water. The water's got to be the right water. Now, when I say right water, I've developed a method of processing that water, or any water, to be usable. The second is the construction of the cell. It needs to be constructed within certain criteria, the right sort of metals and the right thickness. And then the water's put in the cell, and the cell is energised by applying a series of voltages until we cause the deuterium hydrogens to migrate into and to dope the steel.
Okay, about the water. What's water out of the tap, or is there something special about the water?
No, well, it's not that it's special water. We just need water at the right part of the process. And although I explain that a lot more in the book, ideal water has often been called fresh or juvenile water. Now that's water that's virtually just rained and at the top of the stream somewhere. Problem with that is it's almost impossible to find, and even if you do find the right location, the water you get there is very different the day after a thunderstorm to the day in the middle of a drought. So what I tried to do was look at exactly what made water the right water. Firstly, it needed to have as little contaminants as possible, and we're not talking man-made contaminants, we're talking carbon type contaminants. We need the water to have a reasonable degree of conductivity. Pure water doesn't conduct and therefore doesn't permit the electrolysis, so that's not going to work. We need the pH of the water to be relatively neutral, slightly acidic if anything, certainly not as alkaline as it can be way downstream. What I did was to develop a process involving ionisation where we separate the water from its normal 10 to 13 molecules into 6 molecule clusters. And in that process we're able to extract what we don't want from the water, being the long chain carbons and the pollutants. The process doesn't really affect the conductivity of the water or change the pH. So what it means is that almost any natural water, and by that I mean non-processed water, can now be used, be it rainwater, stream, creek, river water. Any water like that can now be processed to the point where it's ideal for use in a cell.
Oh, interesting. So the cell itself, what's about the cell itself? How is it made? What's it made of?
Well, many things have been tried. The best is stainless steel. There's no doubt about that. A good cell will be made of 316L, which is a low carbon, high grade stainless. The primary reason for that is that it doesn't deteriorate too much with the electrolysis, which is a prime part of conditioning the cell. We don't have problems with corrosion and rust. The main thing with a successful cell is having reasonably heavy metal. It doesn't matter on the cathode or the neutrals, the cylinders within the cell, but the cell casing itself either needs to be of a substantial metal or have a fairly good top, solid top ring assembly where the energy is taken off. The neutrals, which are the tubes within the cell, typically 1.6 to 2 mil is fine. It's reasonably important that the stainless is not magnetic. We really just will not get the results if it's highly magnetised, which is a reason again for 316L stainless. The other thing is that I've found that the seams or welding in cell construction is a big negative. It really does affect the operation of the cell. Currently I use seamless stainless, and I find that is by far better, and a pressure assembled cell where quite literally the tops and bottoms are pressed in a fashion that we don't leak, and we have no welding, which affects the molecular structure of the metal and therefore affects the energy that flows through it.
Mm-hmm.